During a family visit, my 12-year-old daughter found a hidden door in my parents' basement. "Don't tell them," she whispered. When I saw what was inside, my jaw dropped. I didn't shout. I did this. 3 days later, they got a letter and started screaming. I don't go to my parents' place that often anymore. Not because I'm a terrible daughter or anything. We talk, we send the occasional birthday card. But visiting them is exhausting. It's the kind of visit where you walk and feel 10 years younger in the worst possible way. The wallpaper hasn't changed since I was a kid. The furniture is a mismatched collection of good deals they found at yard sales. And there's a faint smell in the air that could be either laundry that didn't dry right or something growing in the walls. And then there's the small talk, endless updates about neighbors, the weather these days, and the latest bad news they've pulled from the TV. It's not exactly a place you go to recharge. Still, we were due for a visit. So I packed up my 12-year-old daughter, Lucy, and made the drive over. My husband didn't come work, he said. But honestly, he'd rather clean out the gutters than sit through one of these lunches. We ate at the old dining table. Same scratches in the wood from when my sister and I used to do our homework there. Lunch was the usual, something filling but forgettable, followed by tea served in mugs that had survived decades of dishwasher cycles. Dad stayed mostly quiet, half watching the TV in the living room. He's been unwell for a while now, not bedridden, just taking it easy. As he puts it, Mom says he's tired a lot. He still manages to keep up with the news and comment on every politician in the country. So it can't be too bad. After lunch, Mom retreated to the living room with Dad, leaving me in the kitchen with the dishes. Lucy had been buzzing around all afternoon. Bored out of her mind, I figured she'd gone upstairs to play on her phone or maybe read. I just finished rinsing a plate when she appeared in the doorway. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with that wide-eyed expression. That could mean anything from, "There's a spider," to, "I've just discovered buried treasure. You need to come with me," she whispered. I turned off the tap. "What's going on?" She glanced towards the living room. "Don't tell them. Just come." I hesitated. Normally, this is the point where a parent says, "Tell me right now." But something in her face told me she wasn't going to. So I dried my hands, tossed the tea towel over my shoulder, and followed her. She headed straight for the basement door. Now, we don't usually go down there. It's not off limits. Just there's no reason to. It's full of boxes, old tools, random bits of furniture my parents swear they might use someday. The stairs creaked under our weight as we descended into the cool, dim air. The basement looked the same as always. Dusty concrete floor, laundry, lines strung across the ceiling, piles of stuff that probably hadn't been touched in years. But Lucy moved with purpose, weaving between stacks of boxes until she reached the far wall. There against the corner stood an old shelving unit crammed with paint cans and gardening tools. Without a word, she gripped the side and shoved. The unit scraped against the floor just enough to reveal a narrow door. The paint was the same dull color as the wall, but the latch was new, shiny, like it had been put in recently. I frowned. "What is this?" Lucy just knelt down and flicked the latch. It clicked open with a soft, decisive sound. She pushed the door inward and immediately the air changed. It hit me in the face. Hot, thick, heavy. It clung to my skin like steam from a boiling pot. The smell was sharp and chemical, almost sweet, the kind that makes your throat itch. I'd smelled it before somewhere, but couldn't place it. Only that it wasn't the kind of thing you wanted in your house, unless you were trying to cover something up. The room beyond was dark, except for the thin strip of light from the hallway behind us. Somewhere in the blackness, water dripped, slow, deliberate, each drop echoing like a clock counting down. Beneath it, a low hum vibrated through the floor, steady and mechanical. The kind of sound you hear in locked rooms where important equipment is running. I stepped just inside. The air was warmer here, almost stifling. My shoes stuck slightly to the floor, which made me stop. The chemical smell wrapped around me, sweet and stinging all at once. And then there was the light, not bright, but enough to catch on smooth, glistening surfaces deeper in the room. The reflection shifted as if responding to movement I couldn't quite see. I felt Lucy watching me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't move any further. My heart was thawing, though I wasn't sure why. Whatever this was, it didn't belong here, not in this house, not behind a hidden door in a basement I thought I knew, and I had no idea what I just stepped into. When I was growing up, I was the responsible one. That's not a badge you win. It's a label your parents slap on you so they can feel good about saying no to things. If I wanted something, a new jacket, the nice trainers everyone else had, there'd be a speech, how expensive it was, how it wasn't worth the money, how I should think long term. The implication was clear. Asking for it was wasteful, and I took it on board. I thought they trusted me to be mature, that I was special because I understood the value of money. Then my sister was born 5 years later and suddenly the rules changed. She got treats, trips, fun days out. I once heard mom say, well, she's only little. She should enjoy herself. I remember thinking, what happened to the whole be sensible thing? Over time, I noticed the pattern for me. Lectures about saving, careful spending, making do for her, ice creams, theme parks, ski trips, and sometimes I'd find out they'd gone on these nice things themselves without telling me. When it did come up, it was always framed as a special occasion, something that just came up. I convinced myself it was because they were older, more relaxed, and maybe part of me didn't want to dwell on the unfairness. I grew up, got married, had my daughter. My sister stayed single and very involved with my parents. My life was modest but stable. I worked, paid my bills, made the occasional trip over to see them. 3 years ago, things shifted. I had just gotten a promotion, software engineer, decent salary. For the first time, I could live comfortably, not extravagantly, but comfortably. And then Dad got sick. Nothing sudden, just a diagnosis. They didn't have proper health insurance. Good treatment was expensive, they said, the kind of expensive that eats up pensions. Mom sounded worried on the phone. I could picture her sitting at the kitchen table, bills spread out in front of her. I didn't even hesitate. I'm the responsible one. Remember, I started sending them $2,000 a month, every month. That was all my spare money after rent, food, and the usual bills. I gave up any thought of buying a house. I didn't book holidays if I wanted something non-essential. I thought of Dad and closed the browser tab. Whenever I visited, the house looked the same, modest, slightly shabby, the old furniture, the worn carpets, nothing to suggest they were living it up. Mom told me my sister was helping by being there more since Dad's health meant he needed support. But I never heard about her chipping in financially for 3 years. I believed I was doing the right thing, helping, and then there was that afternoon in the basement. The air down here still felt the same, thick, warm, with that sharp chemical tang clinging to the back of my throat. The door my daughter had found stood open, the narrow strip of light from the hallway behind us spilling onto the floor. I stepped further inside. My shoes made a faint tacky sound on the floor, like there was some kind of residue. The hum I'd heard earlier was louder now, joined by the slow, rhythmic sound of water dripping somewhere unseen. Lucy hovered just behind me, watching, waiting. My hand brushed against the wall and hit something plastic. I felt along until my fingers found a switch. I flipped it on. The light came on with a low hum, and for a second, I thought my brain was lagging behind my eyes. In the middle of the room, a hot tub bubbled lazily, steam curling into the air. In the corner, a glass-walled sauna glowed softly, the kind of golden light you see in spa brochures. Shelves along one wall were stacked with fluffy white towels and neat rows of bottles, oils, bath salts, champagne, real champagne, not the supermarket, sparkling wine I buy when I'm feeling fancy. I just stood there taking it in. 3 years, $72,000. I thought about the rent I'd paid instead of saving for a mortgage. The trips I told my daughter we couldn't afford, the birthdays I'd scaled back because money's tight, all while they were down here soaking in eucalyptus steam and pouring bubbly into crystal flutes. It wasn't just a spa, it was everything, every lie, every thank you that wasn't real. Every time they looked at me and let me believe I was keeping Dad alive, I could feel the heat from the room on my face, and I realized my hands were gripping the door frame. Probably so I didn't walk in and start tipping the champagne down the drain. Whatever I thought about my parents before, I wasn't thinking it now. I didn't trust my mouth to say anything in the basement. If I opened it, I wasn't sure what would come out, so I just looked for a moment longer, memorized it, took a few quick photos on my phone, and then stepped back. Lucy eased the shelving unit back into place, sealing the door like we were covering over a crime scene. Maybe we were. Let's go, I said quietly when we stepped into the kitchen. The normal house smell, cooking oil, laundry powder, hit me like an old photograph you can't quite place. It felt wrong, like the walls were hiding something. In the living room, my parents sat side by side in front of the TV. My mother glanced over her shoulder. I could feel her looking at me, waiting for whatever I was about to say. I kept my voice steady. We need to head off. Something came up. Dad muted the TV. Everything all right? I nodded once. Fine. The word felt like it scraped my throat on the way out. We said our goodbyes. I hugged them. A quick functional thing. But it felt different. Like hugging strangers you've been told are family. Their bodies were familiar, but the warmth I used to feel wasn't there. The drive home was quiet. The kind of quiet that has weight to it. The house is blurred by outside. Lucy traced a line on the fogged-up window with her finger. Finally, she said, "You're upset?" "Yeah," I admitted. "Are you going to say something to them?" "Not yet." She nodded and went back to drawing shapes on the glass. At home, I put my keys down and stood for a moment in the kitchen, hands flat on the counter. The house felt still, like it was waiting for me to explain what had just happened. I called my husband into the room. He took one look at my face and didn't ask the polite version of how was it. "What? They've been lying to me," I said, "for 3 years. He waited. "They didn't spend the money on treatment. They spent it on," I stopped. Saying it out loud made it sound almost ridiculous. A spa in their basement. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the towels, the champagne, the steam. In the morning, the anger had settled into something colder, a list. If I was going to do this, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. First, confirm that Dad wasn't ill. Second, find out where the rest of the money had gone. I started with the first. Mark's name was still in my contacts. Old family friend, golf partner, the kind of man who knows everyone's business without trying. "Hey, Mark, it's me," I said when he answered. He sounded genuinely pleased. "Well, this is a surprise. How have you been?" "Good." "Listen, quick question. Dad's been unwell the last few years, right?" Silence. "Unwell? That's what they've been telling me." Mark gave a short laugh. "We ran a half marathon together in April. He beat me by 10 minutes. I gripped the phone tighter, right? And they've been living it up." He went on. "Hawaii, the wine country weekend. That's spa resort up north." He paused. "Wait, you didn't know?" "No," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "I didn't." When I hung up, I felt like I'd been dropped into someone else's life mid-sentence. I opened my laptop and started digging. My parents don't post much online, but other people do. It didn't take long to find them, tagged in photos from Hawaii. Dad with a garland of flowers around his neck. Mom in a sun hat and sunglasses holding a cocktail with a little paper umbrella. Scrolling back, there were shots from the spa resort. All smiles and robes and champagne flutes. Group dinners, vineyard tours, clinking glasses under strings of fairy lights. I sat there staring at the screen, my tea going cold. By late afternoon, I had a folder on my desktop labeled evidence. Inside, screenshots of every vacation and photo I could find. copies of messages where they'd asked for money for treatment, bank statements showing the monthly transfers, and the photos I'd taken in the basement. Looking at that folder felt like looking at a coffin. That evening, I told my husband I'm getting it back. He didn't ask how. He just said, "Good." The next morning, I called a lawyer. I went through the whole thing, the illness story, the money, the spa, the vacations. I sent her the folder. An hour later, she called me back. "You have a clear fraud case. I can draft a demand letter. If they don't respond, we escalate." "Do it," I said. 2 days later, the letter was ready. It was short, clinical, and ice cold. $72,000, 14 days to pay, evidence attached. We sent it certified mail and by email. 3 days after I found the hidden room, it was on their doorstep. I didn't need to be there to know the moment they opened it. 3 days after I found the hidden room, my phone rang. I didn't have to check the caller ID. "You've lost your mind," Mom snapped before I could speak. "How could you do this to your own parents?" "Easily," I said. "You gave us that money because you wanted to. You can't take it back now. You told me it was for Dad's treatment," I said. "So, either you were lying then or you're lying now. Pick one." "It wasn't exactly that," she said, her tone softening like she thought she could coax me back. "He wasn't feeling well. We didn't know what it was at first." "Then prove it. Show me the diagnosis. The bills, anything, silence. You're supposed to trust us. We are your parents." Trust went out the window 3 days ago, I said. "If you won't make this right, I'll have the police handle it." And I hung up. The silence after that was loud. I kept my phone on the counter, screen down while the missed calls and voicemails stacked up. Mom, Dad, my sister, even my aunt, they all had different words, but the message was the same. "You're tearing the family apart." My daughter heard some of them. She didn't say anything for a while, just lingered in the doorway when I was cooking like she wanted to ask something. One night, she finally did. "Does this mean we're not going to see them anymore?" "I don't know," I told her honestly. "Not for a while," she nodded. I could see the sadness there, but also something else, a kind of quiet agreement. She'd seen the spa, too. My husband kept me steady. When the calls came, he'd take my phone and let them go to voicemail. He didn't push me to talk about it every day, but when I did, he listened without trying to fix it. That was enough. I did meet with my lawyer, and we took the file to the police. That part moved slower than I'd imagined. Weeks of back and forth, formal statements, letters sent through lawyers. My parents fought it, said it was a misunderstanding, that I was misinterpreting things. My sister sent long texts about how much stress I was putting them under. I didn't answer any of it. I'd already said everything I needed to. By the second month, it was clear they weren't going to win. The choice was simple: repay me in full or face charges. They chose repayment grudgingly. The money would come from selling the house, spa included. The sale didn't happen overnight. They dragged their feet, complained about the price, delayed the listing. My lawyer told theirs that every week they stole. The criminal case stayed open. That moved things along. Several months later, the sale closed. The repayment came through into parts. The bulk from the sale, the rest in a signed payment plan. When the transfer hit my account, I stared at the number for a long time. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt done. One evening, my husband and I sat on the couch looking at the online listing photos. The rooms were staged, every surface gleaming, and there in the middle of the carousel was the spa, steam curling in the air, champagne glasses on the edge. I smiled. "It suits them better in the photos," I said. He grinned. "Too bad it's not theirs anymore." That weekend, I opened a new savings account and called it down payment. I told my daughter it was for a house we own one day. She lit up like I'd promised her the moon. It was strange seeing my parents' place in a stranger's hands, but in a way, it felt like justice. The repayment came into parts. The day their house sale closed, my lawyer transferred me the lump sum, $58,000. The rest, $14,000. Would come in monthly installments of $500 until the balance was cleared. Every payment would be wired directly into my account on the first of the month. Watching that first one land felt better than I'd expected, not because of the money itself, but because of what it meant. My parents' house, spa, and all belonged to someone else now. They moved into a small two-bedroom rental on the edge of town in a building I'd once heard my mother describe as a little depressing. The rent was manageable, but just barely. I didn't hear these details from them, of course. We haven't spoken since this all started, but word gets round. My cousin sent me a text one day. Saw your mom at checkout at the food barn. She didn't see me. A neighbor of theirs told a mutual friend that my dad was now working mornings as a greeter at the hardware store. 3 years into their retirement, they were suddenly clocking in again, not to the jobs they'd left, but whatever they could get. My sister didn't escape the fallout. Without my monthly transfers to float them, her helping out real dried up fast. I found out through the same cousin that she's working full-time now at a dental office, which she hates, apparently. She complains that her real life has been put on hold. It's petty maybe, but I can't help feeling a flicker of satisfaction. Life for me and my daughter started to look different almost immediately. We kept our budget steady and put the lump sum into a separate account marked house. Within months, I was meeting with a mortgage broker. The numbers worked. By spring, I'd found it. A 3-bedroom with light in all the right places, and a little backyard my daughter could call her own. I put the $58,000 down, and for the first time in years, I wasn't just paying for someone else's home, I was investing in ours. The day we moved in, my daughter stood in the empty living room, grinning so wide I could see the gap in her back teeth. "This is ours," she said, like she couldn't quite believe it. Neither could I sometimes. I still hear bits about my parents' new life. My dad making small talk about lumber prices. My mom scanning boxes of cereal for people she used to try to impress. Always from someone else. Never directly. I don't gloat out loud. But I do remember the spa, the champagne, and the lies. Funny how the money they stole is the same money I used to start over. Did I go too far or not far enough? Please let me know in the comments and subscribe for